Welcome to Time Out with Shawnee Mission School District Sports Medicine. Today's topic will be about preparing students for a work-based learning experience in a clinical or laboratory environment. Our guests today are Dr. Kenneth Lee, coordinator of the biotechnology program, and Kevin Stalsberg, medical science and sports medicine teacher here in the Shawnee Mission School District. Do you guys want to say anything else for your introductions?
Nah, Dr. Lee is too humble and I don't have enough important stuff to talk about.
All right. Well, we'll get started with our first question. The first question is for Kevin. What are the benefits of doing a boot camp or training prior to going into a work-based learning experience?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's an important part of what we do, right? I think the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks that we spend with our students prior to sending them into a work-based learning experience does a number of things. Not only does it set expectations and kind of give students an understanding of what they're about to experience, but also one of the other things that I think is important, and I've said this repeatedly to a number of different groups, shadowing or being in a clinical environment or being in a laboratory is not an innate skill that students are born with. And just like anything that doesn't come naturally to our students, you have to kind of teach them, coach them, let them know what to expect, and really massage that so they can get the most out of their experience. Because one of the biggest fears that I have, and I can't speak for Dr. Lee where this is concerned, but this really can't be a take your kid to work day experience. You have to go ahead and let them know what to expect, and also B, let them know that this is a continuation of their learning. It's just not happening in a classroom.
Dr. Lee, would you like to add anything to that?
I think that Mr. Stalsberg, hits the nail on the head, right? I think that we have to prepare you, but then we have to let you go, right? We can't hold your hand in this. That's not what we're here for. We're here to give you the skills to then take them into the environment you're going to, whether it be a lab or some kind of medical-based facility or like that.
Yes, definitely. I think it is a lot helpful, and I kind of agree that like the boot camp, as like a student point of view, personally, it does help a lot, especially with just communicating. I feel like communication now is a very big struggle that many kids face. So I think the boot camp generally does help with that quite a bit.
I think you bring up a great point, Hifsa, and I think that communication is something that everybody's struggling with post-COVID. And the more we can do it, the more we can practice it, the more professional we can be when we do it, the easier and more successful our students are going to be long term.
Yeah, I'll just say one other thing. I think that one of the things that we talk about, Mr. Stalsberg and myself and some of our other colleagues, is we really stress like the soft skills, right? And I think that your boot camp, from which I imagine is how we handle the beginning of our semester before the kids go out to their labs, is to make sure they have that skill set. Know how to talk to people in positions of power, know how to like greet, know how to dress properly. All these things, like Mr. Stallings would say, it's not innate, right? High school students, that's not your like normal way of being ready for things. So we give you those skills, those soft skills, to be able to go in and then show what you know without having to worry about these things that getting in your way.
Yes, definitely. Is there anything else you guys would like to add for your boot camps?
Mm.
All right. So our next question is for Dr. Lee. How has your approach to this training changed since you started here at the CAW?
That's an interesting question, because I think it's been sort of almost a roller coaster, because we started in one place obviously we all went through COVID, and then it took us a little while to ramp back up, right? What I started to understand, and I think what changed the way I train things is initially this was a program for juniors and seniors on my side. Uh, what I realized is that younger people could handle it. Given the skills, they would be able to do what the juniors and seniors can do. Um, so when you ask the question of what has changed, I think one of the biggest things is that I can have like these younger students come in and do the same thing, but now they get 2 years where they can do research, right? So now they're like fully like embedded in the lab that they're doing. They're set with skills that are going to get them wherever they want at the university, get into any lab they want. So I think that has been a big change, opening things up a little bit. I think students are deciding what they want to do earlier than ever before. Because I would have never thought an eighth grader would be telling me, I want to do biotechnology, because when I was in eighth grade, I would have went, what are you talking about? So I think students are gravitating to things earlier than they used to.
Yeah, and I think too, Hipsa, at least from my perspective, I think what changes things or what forces change are mistakes and holes in certain areas. I go about recognizing problems, issues, hiccups, and then I go ahead and say, how can I fix this in the future? Because mistakes aren't bad unless they're repeated. And I think that that's the biggest piece is what can I do better to make things or adapt things to what my students need. Um, and I think a little bit of trial and error, and a little bit of, oops, we can't let that happen again. How do I fix it? And being introspective about that is absolutely critical. And I think that piece by itself is actually something Dr. Lee was finding out himself with the younger kids. He played with it and said, "Yeah, sure, these kids can handle it. Okay, go time. Let's adjust it and ramp things up."
Definitely. Dr. Lee, you said that you realized that younger kids could handle it. What steps did you take to determine how you would figure out whether freshmen or sophomores are able to handle it?
I think that one thing is that for a couple years, I did summer school for middle schoolers, eighth graders, incoming freshmen, and 4 weeks, 1 week per group of students, you can see the wonder, I guess, for the lack of a better term. And when I saw like the just seeing things that I take for granted that they're seeing for the first time and seeing it through their eyes, realizing that all they need is someone who invests in them. The desire is there. They don't necessarily know what that is at that point. But for me, I realized that I could channel that early. It's not like my thought was some of these kids don't do well in the normal classroom setting. I think Mr. Stalsberg and I have talked about this at length. And I tell the students, like, our setting is moving around. Our setting is, having relationship with your classmates. And what I see is there are students who come in, maybe they don't enjoy the sitting down for 6 hours a day, and they come in here and all of a sudden they blossom. So my reason for doing this and how I got there is I didn't want these younger students to fall through the cracks and not being given that opportunity early enough so that they could find themselves. And really, it is born out of the fact that I taught these eighth graders, and some of these eighth graders became my first set of freshmen. So, it went together, but it's like I said before, interest is happening earlier. And I want to light that spark more and decided that this was one way we could do it.
Yes. So our next question is for Kevin. How does this training affect the outcome of work-based learning experiences?
I I think that's a great question, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's what drives this, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
when you teach students how to ask questions in a professional manner, when you teach people to speak to people in positions of authority, when they have to go ahead and investigate things kind of on their own and then follow up later with answers. Um, I think giving them the tools and the skills, like Dr. Lee talked about a little bit ago, is actually what empowers these students to actually be successful. Um, I try really hard not to be breathing down people's necks. Um, Anytime they're in a work-based learning environment, because one of the things I learned my first year teaching what was known as Sports Med 2 at the time was if I am in a work-based learning environment with my students, one of two things happen. Either the preceptors come talk to me and ignore the students, or the students come talk to me and ignore their preceptors and what's happening. And when both those things happen, nothing positive comes from it. So do I do check-ins? Absolutely 100%. Do I hang out all the time? Nope. I just want to make sure you're where you're supposed to be. But again, a lot of the success that is done or that happens in a work-based learning environment happens because of the 2 or 3 weeks that we spend prior to them being in that experience or environment.
Would you like to add anything to that, Dr. Lee?
No, I mean, I think that that's the key there though, is like, I don't like being micromanaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore I do not micromanage my students. Like Mr. Salzberg said, yes, I check in. Yes, I talk to them all the time. Do I talk to them all the time when they're in the lab? No. That's not going to help them for me to
Mm-mm.
do that.
Definitely. And I think that helps the students as well kind of spread their own wings in a way. I feel like it's different from a normal classroom at like our high schools where the second we have a question we can run to our teacher. Where like coming from Kevin's experiences, I can ask Kevin and he'll guide me, but Kevin will never give you the answer and will kind of give you little hints to kind of go out and find the answer yourself, which is
100%
definitely,
agree with that.
yeah, a lot more helpful in the long run.
Not in the moment sometimes.
Definitely
God, no.
frustrating. I always tell him one of these days I'm gonna get a straight answer for you. They haven't came, but maybe it will.
No.
All right, moving on. Dr. Lee, have you ever doubts have you ever doubts about putting students in a clinical or research placement?
So this is a question I've actually never been asked before. I saw this and I was like, to think long and hard about this. And I mean, the answer is yes. And I think, at the beginning, it's not usually not individual. It's just like I had this big picture of fear, right? The students are representing themselves, but they're representing me, they're representing the school district, they're representing their families. So if they fail, then I feel that I've also failed all these groups of people. So yes, I mean, and I've had fears, and then I've had students who I'm like, okay, I'm worried, but let's see how it goes. And sometimes those students have been the best students in the lab. They're just happen to be quiet. It's just, and then all of a sudden they, again, like when I talk about, it's like they blossom in an environment that helps them grow. And all of a sudden you're like, this is not the same student that I had like 6 months ago. So yeah, honestly, I thought it was a really good question. And, I've thought about that multiple times. I think there are situations where you have to have the discussion with a student and seeing if really they believe that they should be doing this. It's just like, a lot of times I won't say, no, you shouldn't, but I'm like, I want you to think about this, and then we should revisit this, tomorrow at a later date and see if, this really is what is a fit for you. So yeah, that's a really good question.
Would you like to add anything to that, Kevin?
Absolutely, 100% all the time. I think Dr. Lee really hit the nail right on the head when he used the word fear. There's a reason why teenagers and their insurance rates are through the roof. It's because they have a tendency to actually get in or encounter stationary objects when they're moving behind the wheel of a vehicle. And knowing that and saying, here's the keys to a learning experience, but oh yeah, by the way, you have to drive yourself. And please, dear God, don't hit anything on your way there. Or if it's raining outside, I have legitimate questions about, do I really want this student to be on the road today? Or if there's a million things that can go wrong, whether it's on the way to a work-based learning environment or coming back or even while you're there, right? And that's part of the boot camp, right? Is mitigating as much risk as you possibly can so you can put your head on the pillow at night and not stay awake. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. That was a long-winded answer, but do I have concerns about it? Yes. Do I still do it? Heck yeah. Why? Because kids.
Look at you towing the company line.
There you go. I think it's a really I like the way you kind of look at it because like I think every once in a while you have a kid who will make a mistake, who will mess up, but there's so many kids who can grow from this into now we see where you'll have students who will go out and pursue a career in it. So I think it's just really nice to see that we're able to put like faith in these kids and have them go out and do what they do now.
Well, let's be real, Hifsa, even yourself. Look at how much you've grown in 9 weeks. I mean, I had to basically walk you over to Dr. Larson to have you have a conversation with her. Now you're besties.
Definitely. All right. Our next question is for Kevin. What is the most important part of the process of preparing students for their clinical or laboratory experience?
I have two answers, but I'm only going to give you one. And I think helping students learn how to communicate is the biggest part. Um, if somebody had told me 7 years ago when I started this process that I would actually teach students how to ask questions, I would have said, what the heck are you talking about? They know how to ask questions. But what I've found is they know how to ask very basic questions, but to dig deeper and understand what they're trying to get to and how you get to that point is probably the biggest and most important part of what we do. Because like I said at the very beginning, this is not asking questions is not an innate skill. Um, Walking in, and Dr. Lee and I had this conversation yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Just shaking hands. We don't do it anymore, or we didn't. But I've made a conscious effort to begin shaking people's hands again. Why? To have a little bit of normalcy, but I also think too my lights just went out. To have that experience and let people know that yes, this is still a professional environment, and this is a professional way of saying hello.
Dr. Lee, do you have any thoughts to add?
One, I was wondering, did the lights go out in your room, or
Yeah.
did the lights go out?
Both. I mean, it's after 3:20, so brain doesn't
Yeah.
have to work anymore.
So I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think of a way not to give the same answer that Mr. Stalsberg gave. And I was sitting here thinking, and I was thinking, one of the things that I think I haven't mentioned so far is time management. I think that those boot camp weeks, our beginning weeks, you know, when they go out, when you guys go out into the field, lab, whatever, I mean, you're then like, you got to be here, but you still got to do your homework there. And sometimes you got to do a job here. And, I can't, I'll be like, you got to do it. I mean, if this is what you want to do, this is how it works. So at the beginning, people are scrambling all the time. And it's like, okay, get your calendar. I'm not good with calendars. I was like, but you have to be. So my favorite thing is now that my research students, they're so close to each other that they create like master calendars, and then they fill in different things in there of what we have to do as a group, what they have to do individually during this time. When is their presentation in class? When is it? So they learn that that's key, right? Time management is key. Some people never learn it. I'm still learning it, and there are high school students that are better than me at it, but you have to be always working on that. So that was the one thing I was like, yes, yeah, time management.
100%. And you bring up a point that I may actually add next semester. Is how do we manage time given the fact that you're technically on the clock from 7:40 to 5:30?
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. I think going off of what Dr. Lee said, that is really true. I was horrible with my time management before sports medicine, so kind of working through that. And like I have seen, like I've now have planner. I use my phone and have planners. And like I've seen students from your class who will have their whole Google Planner, and I've seen what you talked about. Or I have friends who are very organized and will be like, "Hey, what can you do?" And they'll pull it out and be like, "I'm available from here to here. This is my homework time. This is my class time." So it's definitely a lot more helpful, and it helps kind of take that stress off of like, how am I gonna do everything? Which was something I definitely struggled in within my first like 2, 3 weeks of during that boot camp time. But
But
yeah,
I will say the student does have to be receptive,
yeah.
because there are students who are not receptive to it and then wonder why they've fallen behind, wonder why they're not getting the opportunities their classmates maybe getting. And so I think that's key. It's like you just some point you can't convince someone to be better at managing their time. You hope that they come around, but at some point it's on the student to make that final decision.
Definitely. Dr. Lee, can you teach commitment and to believe in the people around them or the process?
That's the second question I haven't been
Mhm.
asked before. Can you teach commitment? I think that I think you can teach commitment. Do I think there has to be something there to begin with, something to build on? I think so. But I think that you don't come over here without a little bit of that, because you're committing to getting over here, spending 10 hours a week class time here, and and everything that goes along with the outside of class time. So can I build on your commitment when you come here? Yes, absolutely. Because you will learn that you're not just representing yourself. I said this earlier. So you're committing to, again, to me, you're committing to the school, you're committing to your parents that you are going to do something and finish it. So I do believe you can build someone's commitment. Again, I'd like to believe that people don't come over here without at least a little of that to start with. And then you learn pride. You learn pride. Pride helps build commitment, right? Because if you're proud of what you do, you want to do it more. You want the teacher to say you did a good job. You want the lab person to say you did a good job. It's positive reinforcement. We all want that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And all that's going to build your commitment, which is going to build your confidence, which is going to lead you to a better place than I'd like to believe if you didn't go through this process to begin with would be.
Definitely. Any other thoughts on that?
I can't follow amazing like we just heard, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
So, Kevin, how important is modeling behavior to preparing students?
You know, if you'd asked me this question 8 years ago, I would have said 0% important.
Mm.
But the more I'm in this building, the more I'm around my colleagues, the more I interact with students and preceptors and everybody else, the more I realize that everything we do is modeling. From the expectations we set to wearing our badge where we wear it to literally everything else. Sometimes students need to be reminded of those expectations. But at the same time, in order to remind them, you have to model the behavior that you expect yourself, right? So in other words, I'm not going to throw somebody under the bus in the middle of class to remind them. I'm instead going to make a very broad blanket statement about, hey, just a reminder, these are our expectations in this space, in this environment, et cetera. Make sure that you're meeting them. So again, I think it's critical. I think it's vital. And I think we do it most of the time unconsciously as educators, but it just reinforces really what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to inspire our students to do as well.
That's an awesome answer. That's an awesome answer. And I think that I agree. Like, I wouldn't have appreciated it like when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
And now what I wanted to, I'll just give two quick examples that really follow up on what Mr. Stalsberg said. One of the things that catches people's eyes when they come into my class are pennants that are around my room. I put them up because I'm just like, I love my students and thinking about them and thinking about, but when people come in, they see them different. The students come in and they see them different than I see them. Right. I just think of them as a thing, like, so I can remember my students. They think of it as somewhat they're like striving for. Right. They see the schools, they're striving for them, where they're like, well, we're going to go to a different school and we can't wait till we bring you our pennant. Right. So I feel like just by doing that, I'm modeling something. Sometimes I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, which, it happens a lot. I was telling Mr. Stalsberg about my degree that I hang behind my head. And, now that you asked this question, I think that part of that comes to my modeling, because students come in here and they see, I'm teaching, I was able to go do the schooling I was able to do. And they see that where you can get to, right? So a lot of it, I think, is unconscious. Like Mr. Stalsberg said, it's there in the background with the, unconsciously inspiring the students who come through our programs.
Like, as kids, when you're growing and kind of developing, modeling is the way you learn. Especially for me, where it's like, if I've seen expectation, it kind of helps you know, and you learn from the mistakes of your model and you learn from what you can improve. I think that's another vital
Yep.
fact.
Oh, I make a lot of mistakes. So students learn a lot from those.
Failing forward, right, Dr. Lee?
Always, always. It's all the bruises on my head.
All right, Dr. Lee,
Mhm.
why is confidence and teamwork an important part of the work-based learning experience in a clinical or laboratory experience?
I think those are the two important things. I think when you like strip it down to its like base parts, I think that teamwork and confidence, without those, I mean, you can't go into a public space without holding my hand, right? But this boot camp idea, the boot camp you guys do and the way we approach it is to build both of these things. Teamwork, because as you know, our class and your class, you know, you guys are so like associated with each other, like conversation, like you all come from, this is one of my favorite things about being here, right? You guys, a lot of you would have never known each other, right? There's nothing, you would have never had any reason to get come together because you come from 5 different schools.
Yep.
Right? And now you come together and you become a team. I think of my research students as a team. We do things together, we get the most out of each other. So there's our teamwork. And they push each other a lot. And that builds their confidence. Right. And because of those two things, I think we've had a track record of the students doing well and being recognized for this hard work that comes out of learning teamwork and confidence from, I believe, from our end of things on the teaching side.
Yeah, I honestly I agree with that. And I think in order to be comfortable walking up to somebody in authority or walking into a brand new environment, you have to have some level of confidence in yourself, in the program, and what you've learned before. And I think that that piece is critical. I think a student that has historically hidden or is excessively introverted or really not comfortable saying things in public are the students that need the most supports as they navigate a work-based learning environment. But again, that's on me to provide them with that stuff.
Yeah.
Though teamwork and confidence are, like Dr. Lee said, absolutely critical to being successful in a work-based learning environment.
And then today, our last question is for Dr. Lee. Buy-in to the philosophy of a program can lead to success for students. How do you achieve buy-in, and what would you say is your philosophy to achieving this?
So I think one of the things with Miss Prez and I is we're 100% in on the students 100% of the time. They see our passion, I believe, and that passion brings the buy-in. You know, they know it's going to be hard, but they still come back for more. They still come back for another course, and obviously, like success, success drives more students to come. I mean, we're all, you know, you get a lot of people who, you know, are type A personalities. And you put them all together and they're going to push each other. I mean, they're going to ruffle some feathers, but at the end of the day, they're buying into a philosophy that I am giving to them. I'm giving them my way of doing things. Do they have to take it 100%? No, right? They don't have to take it at all. But they are under the belief that I know something, right? Whatever that something may be. And I think that, word of mouth provides buy-in. People from Mr. Stalsberg's program talking to their friends who are interested in biotech, right? Then they come here, we mix and match programs because we all believe in each other's programs, right? So if Mr. Stalsberg endorses my program, that student already has buy-in, right? Because he's told them that this is a good place to be. And I think that, maybe this doesn't 100% answer the question, but I think that our passion, all of us who do this, our passion is what I believe drives this buy-in from the students. Because you wouldn't just come here because, it's just another class. You just wouldn't. It's too much commitment.
I 100% agree. Dr. Lee and I had a colleague that used to say, calm breeds calm. I also think success breeds success. And when you can expose students to success early, it goes ahead and it's like everything else. When you have the positive reinforcement that Dr. Lee talked about earlier, when you see the success that a program has, the students then have this vision that they can do it too. And I think that is one of the really important parts to all of our programs here in this building is students outside the building see success. They say, hey, I want to do that. Then they get here and are successful. And they're like, I want to do more.
Right.
Finding a way to have positive experiences, whether it's in the classroom, in the work-based learning environment, et cetera, really is helpful. And I also think too, that if you can model when things don't go well, no doesn't mean stop, no may just mean not right now, that, oh yeah, okay, I got this. It just might not happen on the timeline I want it to. And that's okay too. So I think all of that is a vital component to commitment and success.
And modeling, it comes back to that, right?
Yep.
Because you were saying that, and I was thinking that I tell the students that with research, you probably fail 99% of the time. But it's that 1% success that keeps you coming back for more, right? Because that day may be the day.
Yep.
Right. That's what my researchers know. That day, man, I could have had the worst 2-week run of my life, but that Friday is going to be my day. Mm-hmm. And something good happens, it holds you over. I mean, but that's grit, right? We talk, it's like we talk about this a lot. It's like, you have to have that commitment, grit type thing in order to keep going. And we I think as a whole, we try and model that to the students. That's, so what Mr. Salzberg said, I agree 100%. I think that that's how we get what we get. Now, expectations are high, right? So then you're dealing with that other part, right? Is expectations. When new people come in, they know what old people did, right? So everyone, it becomes, then it becomes challenging in a different way for these students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wonderful questions. Thank you.
Would you guys like to add anything else today? As those were all of our questions that we had.
No, I think they were great questions.
They were great questions.
Thank you for moderating this conversation, Hifsa. Great job.
Thank
Yes,
you.
great job. Thank you.